So much media, so little time. Who keeps track of it all? That would be me. This is Bob Andelman, and this is a Mr. Media interview, brought to you today by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook at www.audiblepodcast.com/MrMedia. That's MR Media. You'll find more than 75,000 titles to choose from for your iPod or MP3 player. Once again, that's only at www.audiblepodcast.com/MRmedia. So where was I before the commercial? Oh yeah, Mr. Media is recorded live from the world's new media capital and hometown of actors Angela Bassett, Patrick Wilson, and Monica Raymond, St. Petersburg, Florida. I think it was the hair. It's a Niagara Falls of cascading, curly, reddish tresses, framing a face that could alarm the viewer with its world-weary concern or lighten up any scene with a rare outburst of laughter. Now, that was how most of us came to know Melissa Leo, a.k.a. female detective sergeant Kay Howard, on NBC's long-running series Homicide, Life on the Street. She was a hardened veteran investigating murder among a crew of tough guys who treated her with respect and a smidgen of trepidation. Here's a clip to refresh your memory.
I thought I put you with the new guy.
Templeton's with the new guy.
Is there a reason why I can't control my own men?
It's better be feared than loved.
Look, I'm not going to remind you about this again. A tie is the dress code. You're not working narcotics.
No, I'll tell you, I don't get no respect, all right?
You don't deserve to be respected.
Jerry Jemson's disappeared. Face it, the no-hit is over.
Detective Howard, I'm Jerry Jemson.
Not on anything, are you, Jerry?
No, ma'am. No, that's a stupid question.
Stupid question, huh?
Well, a little bit, yeah.
Clean as a whistle, then, right?
I'm pretty clean here.
Jerry, we had an appointment earlier this morning. Can you tell me why you didn't show up?
I lost my appointment book.
Do you have any idea why a dead body was found in your basement?
Is that what that smell was?
You remember talking to me on the phone this morning, Jerry?
Yes, I do. Actually, you look better in person than on the phone. I was kind of surprised when I saw you.
You ever met Henry Biddle?
Biddle.
Name sound familiar?
Biddle. Kind of rhymes with fiddle, huh? Biddle. Yeah, I think well, I tell... No, Biddle, no. I'm sorry, no. Biddle, no.
Homicide, in my opinion, was one of TV's all-time great shows. It continued the careers of Yaphet Kotto and Ned Beatty and introduced us to new talent such as Melissa Leo, Andre Braugher, Kyle Secor, Callie Thorne later, Clark Johnson, Michelle Forbes, and it caused the transformation of legendary stand-up comic Richard Belzer into what must be one of TV's longest-running continuous characters, Detective John Munch, who started on Homicide in '93 and lives on today in Law & Order, Special Victims Unit, having wisecracked his way through more than 260 episodes of those two shows, plus an episode of The Wire and an episode of Arrested Development. But I digress. Having survived her Homicide partner, Daniel Baldwin, Melissa Leo's career was low-key for a few years as she became a frequent guest star in TV dramas from The L Word and CSI to Shark and Law & Order. So how she then went from appearing in Mr. Woodcock on the silver screen with Billy Bob Thornton to being Oscar-nominated the next year for Best Actress for 2008's Frozen River has got to be a good story. But if you listen to this clip from Frozen River, I think you'll get a pretty good idea what happened. And then stick around because Melissa Leo is about to join us to talk about a raft of new movies she'll be in, as well as the April 11th premiere of the HBO series Treme, which I hope I'm saying correctly, I know she'll correct me, in which she co-stars with John Goodman and plays his wife. This is Melissa Leo in Frozen River.
Where's Daddy?
Probably in Atlantic City by now. Gambling away the money for our house.
Are we even going to look for him?
What are you doing with my car?
Had the keys in it. The guy driving it got on a bus. I got a friend who might buy that.
It's not for sale.
He's a smuggler. He'll pay more than it's worth.
I'm not driving just anybody across the border. It's a crime.
There's no border here. This is free trade between nations.
Not the Border Patrol.
They're not going to stop you. You're white.
This is about the woman that was with you. She's known to have brought illegal aliens into the country.
You can't come up with the cash. You've lost your $1,500 deposit. I can get a job, you know.
You're going to school. I just need one more run to get the double. And then I'm out of this.
There's only 600 here.
You want to make a change now?
I want the rest.
You're gonna get us all killed.
I don't want any trouble from him, Lila. We have a situation with a couple of smugglers.
Did they do something?
I'm just directing you to step out of the vehicle.
Troopers want somebody.
My kid's got no one but me.
What are you gonna do?
I didn't know any other way to keep us together.
Melissa Leo, welcome to Mr. Media.
Hi there.
How are you?
That was a really fun little trip down memory lane listening to the Homicide biddle.
That was fun. I went looking for something, that would just really kind of capture a little bit of, Kay, and that was just perfect. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to. We're going to talk about Homicide in a little bit, but I got to ask you, how did you go from Mr. Woodcock to Frozen River? I mean, it's just, I don't know, big difference.
Oh, it maybe it's hard to know. You shoot something and then off it goes in a can, and you don't hear, and maybe they ask you to do a little looping, and then it appears somewhere. If you were to ask me which of those films had I shot before the other, I don't know that memory would serve me very well on it. I just work. I just go along and I work wherever I can. After Homicide, that amounted to a lot of things that nobody ever even ended up seeing. Student films, shorts, independents that never, had quite enough going for them that they got out and seen. Just going along, saying, yes, sure, I'd be happy to join you, and I would be invited. And, it's less to do with me and more to do with the tides of the world, of how this, things ended up coming out and being seen, and I just enjoy the ride.
Homicide had a tremendous following. People who loved it stayed with it for years. People who never discovered it. But I'm thinking that within the industry, it was probably very well known. So I'm a little surprised to hear that you were taking whatever was coming your way after that. That it wasn't, it wasn't a smorgasbord, so to speak, of great roles.
I think that one of my dilemmas throughout my career has been my understanding of my job is to lose Melissa Leo in the woman she's playing. And it is my pleasure to do that. And, I think in many regards the character as I'm playing her is of higher priority than myself and my needs. It's just the way I work. Then what gets taken in by the world, Kay Howard, although she wore a little bit of makeup at the beginning of the series, eventually Melissa saw an opportunity to be on national television, network television, with a bare face, like a lot of the guys I've worked with over the years. My face is not so different from a man's. There was an effort to find a way to make that woman fit into the very male environment in which she resided. And so to not challenge the manners, so I made that choice to do that. I think a lot of people, industry and otherwise, saw Kay Fan's makeup and thought they were seeing me and thought, we don't want that. No, we don't want. Although Kay Howard ends up being repeated throughout television on all the years since Homicide was there, they didn't want me because they thought they knew it all. and friends and family at home with C.K. Howard to go, Melissa, how do you do that? How do you get your voice so low? How do you act so smart?
Carl, that's cutting. That's not nice. Well, and it's interesting because you're talking about that lack of makeup, and people who have not seen the beginning of Frozen River. I mean, we find you, and you are just. I mean, I mentioned world weary in the introduction. I mean, your character is so beaten down. You're smoking. A tear comes from your eye, and then you move into inside, and you literally and figuratively you strip down to bra and panties. We see the tattoos, and it's like, whoa. I mean, when you're going to be introduced to a character, I don't think you can get a harsher or more naked introduction to a character in a movie.
Well, there was some really, really good writing and luck of the shooting. When we shot that, what ends up being the opening sequence, I had been playing Ray for some time. I knew her well. I had been living in her environment of northern New York for some time at that point. I also, from my own experience living in Vermont, a lot of my adolescents, know what happens to a face in the cold weather and one thing and another, and allowed nature to take its course in that. Courtney had brilliantly scripted these bare feet in the snow where the camera starts in that shot you described. Mm-hmm. And my feet were indeed bare and indeed in the snow that that dressers were shoveling back under my feet because it had actually warmed up a little bit by then. We needed to find the snow in piles where we could. But there it is, all informing that moment that you experienced as the introduction to Ray Eddy, and I was experiencing deeply within her circumstances.
Is this even possible? Can you go back to that moment where that tear is coming from your eye and tell us what you were thinking about? And, that's some people that's very easy to bring that tear, and some people it's very difficult.
I have always had a vivid imagination, and an imagination I'm quite comfortable to believe. So when a writer has given me a very clear guide in their script to who and what is the scene is about, I can simply believe those circumstances. So what am I thinking about? I'm thinking about that son of a bitch motherfucker husband who has not just screwed me for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I am thinking about my son inside trying to reach manhood without his goddamn father now, who is not coming back in the house, and my little baby son that I had thought I had protected from this god-awful reality, and now he's going to live through it too. That's the story Courtney wrote. That's what I was thinking about.
I was going to say, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Ray Eddy. That was awesome.
That's acting,
wow.
I guess. That's so in a way, yeah, simple, rolling off a log. Point of concentration, training, knowing my instrument allows all that information then to flow through me and be shared with you to tell you the story.
I don't think I've ever asked a question on this show, and it's been 4 years now, where I got a character in exchange for a question. That was wonderful.
Oh, that's really good, because when people ask somebody, do that thing that you did in, I won't do that.
I just write the questions, folks. I just sit back and hope for good answers. That was one. Was that your first real big lead in a film in Frozen River?
No, it was not my first lead in a film. A long, long time ago, and you might be able to find it on there's some library of DVDs or archive or something. I did a triumvirate film with Bill Hurt and Timothy Hutton called A Time of Destiny, in which there's no way around it.
Oh,
I was the leading lady in it. And,
Josie Larinetta.
Yep. And I have also, more recently in other independent films, Racing Daylight, which is also available on DVD and so on, was given a leading role that had been written for me by a good friend up in where I live in New York, Racing Daylight with David Strathairn. And yeah, over the years there have been brave souls that have entrusted me with the lead, but just not really enough in one way or another, whether it was the story or the filmmaking or the opportunity for distribution that stymied, people getting to know that work. For me, the experience was not unique. I knew that I could do it. I knew what it took. I knew that it actually makes a better actor out of me to have more to bite into than to support. Mm-hmm. Really, when I had, become aware of the character of Ray Eddy and the script of Frozen River, having done this short with Courtney, I really hounded her even to be sure that, if an opportunity was going to be found to make that movie, that we could, because I had no doubt in my mind that I would be able to carry the ball and really wanted the chance to get it in the can.
Melissa, what do you recall as maybe the highlight from the moment of your nomination for Best Actress was announced right through, and the Oscar goes to?
It was a year of highlights, and the American Spirit Award that I got was the Independent Spirit Award that I got was really quite an enormous highlight. The Actors Studio that I've been a long-time member of invited me in as the board, the Best Actress in San Sebastian, the Best Performance in Morocco. There were a lot of highlights along the way that year, and some of it was conversations with journalists such as yourself that made so much of a difference for me in even the possibility of getting that nomination, belief that a lot of people have had having witnessed my work over the years, and clearly hoping in black and white that I could be given more opportunity, that a lot of faith and belief in me in that, and that being able to have conversations with people like that, Elvis Mitchell and others that had said such nice things about me and wished they could say more, but the part was too small, and then had the opportunity to. There was a lot of highlights. Sitting there at the Oscars, knowing that some other lucky lady would take the statue home, but to sit beside my son at that great, auspicious, world-known event, that was pretty spectacular.
Well, and you mentioned some other lucky lady. This is interesting to me. This week, apparently, you have joined the cast of the remake of Mildred Pierce, which includes that lucky lady who took the trophy that night, Kate Winslet.
Yes, it turns out there's a lot of reasons I'm taking that job, Todd Haynes, and to work in that period. But the thing that caught my eye when it was sent to me for, a read and see if I was interested in joining them was the opportunity to work with Kate. I met her briefly. I've probably spoken to her all of about 2 minutes, 1 minute at the Independent Spirit, and half a minute the night of the Oscars at the Vanity Fair party after she had taken home the prize. I was able to clutch her in my arms and congratulate her, and really just a sweet, decent woman. I think that there's a beautiful thing going to happen up in the tri-state area this summer of several powerful female actors joining together with Todd Haynes to work together, and I just am really thrilled with that notion of working with those other women under Todd's guidance.
Can you point to that movie, and you've also got the Welcome to the Rileys, which is shot and doing the festivals, and The Fighter with David O. Russell and Christian Bale, and Betty Ann Waters starring Hilary Swank. Can you point to any of these or all of them and say that Frozen River led to these?
I can point to all of them and say that Frozen River and what the exposure that it got for me led to all of them in a regard. In another regard, I know that say with Welcome to the Rileys, Jake in his original cast list claims, and he's not. I haven't found him to be a liar yet. that I was somebody he was very interested in. Well, he wasn't going to get me hired on that film. And it wasn't even so much the nomination that interested the producers in hiring me, because I hadn't gotten that nomination yet. But when the producers saw 5 minutes of Frozen River, they agreed to give me the job. So some of it was my almost 30 years of working as an actor that Jake was wanting to work with, and the getting the job had, everything to do with Frozen River.
Well, and it's such a Welcome to the Rileys, such a intriguing cast. I mean, James Gandolfini, of course, from The Sopranos, and Kristen Stewart from Twilight. I mean, interesting grouping.
Yes, it was a very interesting grouping, and Kristen had shot Twilight. It had not yet come out, so she was still Kristen Stewart, who had been a child actor and was coming of age now, and was being given an opportunity to on film step from childhood into adulthood. Just a very talented actress who had, picked her roles along the way. And Jimmy, who had been so widely known as Tony Soprano, and an opportunity for him to break barriers, and for me, this opportunity of this, world-weary, worn Rayetti, and could I tidy up and be this Indiana housewife that Jake needed. All of us were being asked to expand our parameters in a way that was not unlikely for us, but surely unlikely that we would have landed the job. And the three of us, just such a love fest, all of us working together, and our individual relationships with Jake Scott. It was filmmaking at its most loving and kind and thoughtful, and we were all being given an opportunity and working really hard and joyfully together. It was quite remarkable. So I'm very pleased that the film is seeing the light of day and has gotten distribution and will be released next fall. It's a beautiful story to share with everyone.
Do you think Kristen Stewart can maintain a career beyond Twilight? Does she have the chops?
Yes, absolutely, without question. Without question. And it also then has to do with not just the chops, which she definitely has, and she will grow as an actress as she works, because she's interested in learning and expanding. She doesn't think she knows it all by any regard. She is not going to be caught in the persona she played in those films. She is going to make a choice to step out of those parameters. She's an actor, not a movie star.
All right. Well, I've just looked at the time, and I want to make sure we have time to talk about your new show on HBO. Now, did I pronounce it right? Is it Treme or is it Treme?
Treme.
Treme. One for the host. Okay, I got that right. So, now, Homicide was based on the book by then Baltimore Sun cops reporter David Simon, who also went on to create The Wire and now created Treme, which you're starring in for HBO, with John Goodman, Candy Alexander. Debuts, I want to mention April 11th. How did you and David reconnect, or is that not how this came to be?
Again, just those, every story, when carefully examined, on the one hand, we could imagine that, David Simon's going, this Leo, I must find her. And no, it's much more happenstance. And it was several months after I got the job that I sort of put it together in my mind and went, oh. At one of the lovely events I was invited to last year, I ran into, I wouldn't exactly call her an old friend, but an old working acquaintance, Alexa Fogel, casting director out of New York. We had a very nice chat. It was lovely to see her. We're women not far from an age in each other, and here we are still in business, still kicking. That was sort of the conversation, and what was I interested in doing, and a thought that had come to my mind along the Oscar trail last year or the year before, I guess it is now, I'm very respected by my industry, and I'm known by them that have seen, and then I'm not known. My name is not a commodity. There was an interest both professionally and as a personal challenge to myself to work in television again. The personal challenge being that television isn't the easiest thing to shoot. We do it very, very fast. We have a lot of information we don't get until the last second. You got to kind of dance on your toes to do it right. I wanted to play in that world again, and I expressed all that to Alexa. 2 weeks later, got a call from David Simon. Would I be interested in looking at some pages and seeing if I would want to join them here in New Orleans? And I said, send the pages.
I want to point out to listeners that actually David Simon was the first guest on this show, and when this show went to radio, we actually met in person here in St. Pete. He was a visiting professor at Eckerd College, and we spent an hour talking about his work. So that's delightful. Now, how is working with John Goodman?
Oh, it's just heavenly. It's really heavenly. John Goodman, in my experience of him, is first and foremost an actor. And actors are some of the most misunderstood people on the planet, particularly because our tool, our instrument is ourselves. So people think that they know who we are. And really, we are best known to one another when you get just actors in the room. He's an actor who's hard on himself as he works and doubting and goddamn brilliant with every stroke he makes. It's just, I can't say enough about how fun it is, and we have together a teenage daughter on the show, and she's a delight. And watching the two of them work together, it's a very fun thing in what I do. I have a lot of movie husbands and movie children that, when we run into one another, and that's what India and John and I are experiencing right now, that the rest of the country will begin to experience in April. We're forming a family. And
before we let you go, and we're just about out of time, I have to ask you, speaking of great actors, I have to ask you about Andre Braugher, the ultimate smart, tough guy on Homicide. Have you seen him in Men of a Certain Age?
I have not. I've only seen the previews for it, and I giggled just seeing the previews for it. And you go, Brower. I'm sorry, Andre Braugher. That's what I've always known him as, and I do know a lot of people say it the other way. I've always heard Brower. I have not seen yet in that, and it's but there's that part of and to know an actor and not see them for some time, and then see them having grown up a little bit or made some shift in how they are in the world, and then maybe it's them and maybe it's the character that they're playing. That was kind of a thrill just to see him on the preview a few weeks ago.
Did you even recognize him in the preview?
I did indeed. Now you work with somebody enough, and we can.
I recommend to you, if you have downtime, that you catch him in that show. It is so amazing. I mean, he's done other work, obviously, as you all have, between Homicide and that show. But I suspect it'll be for people who haven't seen John Goodman since Roseanne, and then they'll see him in Treme, and it's just such a different portrayal. I mean, it's acting, obviously, but it's so different. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and for me, as I watch actors that I've known and I've worked with and see them doing something different, that makes me so happy every time, because I then see an old friend having some fun. We love to stretch and change and play. Give us a chance.
Absolutely. Let me, folks, listen, you can catch Academy Award-nominated actress Melissa Leo in the upcoming HBO series Treme. It premieres April 11th on HBO, or watch for her in any number of new movies, including Welcome to the Rileys, The Fighter, Betty Ann Waters, and, of course, she's going to be shooting this summer the remake of Mildred Pierce with Kate Winslet. Melissa, thank you so much. It was a wonderful treat to have you on the show today, and thanks for joining us on Mr. Media.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And for more interviews with your favorite TV and film stars, you can surf over to our main website, www.mrmedia.com, mrmedia.com. That's where you can listen to my earlier conversations with Kirk Douglas, Billy Bob Thornton, who I'm afraid whose work I called into question earlier on Mr. Woodcock, Ted Ramey, Nathan Fillion, Christian Slater, Alicia Cuthbert, Ali Sheedy, Elaine Hendricks, and many more. And please take advantage of this great offer for Mr. Media radio listeners. Go to www.audiblepodcast.com/mrmedia, that's Mr. Media, to get a free audiobook download of your choice when you sign up today. Pardon me. Again, that's www.audiblepodcast.com/mrmedia for your free audiobook. And subscribe to Mr. Media on iTunes, and you'll never miss a show. Just search Mr. Media Interviews from within iTunes and subscribe for free. You can also listen with a piece of string and a tin can in many locations. If you've got an idea for a guest, email me directly at bob@andelman.com. You can also follow me on Facebook or on Twitter, www.twitter.com/Andelman or facebook.com/Andelman. Thanks so much for joining us today. Always appreciate when you give up a little piece of your day and come spend it with us.